So just yesterday, we talked about the possibility of Jermaine Burton transferring from Georgia to the Crimson Tide and the implications that move would have. And it did not take long for an official announcement to come down stating that Jermaine Burton has transferred to the Crimson Tide, and today we need to talk about what this move means. But before we do, as always, you know the drill. I want to hear from you. Hop down to the comments. Give me a Y for yes, N for no. Are you excited that Jermaine Burton has chose to transfer to the Crimson Tide? And let me know what you're thinking. If you are new to the channel, be sure to subscribe. Hit that bell notification. I do constant college football content. You don't want to miss any of it. And if you enjoy that content, be sure to like and comment down below. Those interactions may seem small, but they are massive to content creators such as myself in both getting picked up and maintained by the YouTube algorithm. But with all that being said, we need to talk about this because coming out of high school, Jermaine Burton was a top 100 player in the nation. And in fact, last year, he was Georgia's leading wide receiver in receiving yards. Brock Bowers had the most receiving yards on the team, but Jermaine Burton was the actual leading wide receiver. So when he enters his name into the transfer portal, automatically you know, if you've watched Jermaine Burton, this is a very talented individual. One with a ton of upside and someone who's looking to get some looks to put themselves in the best position for the NFL draft. Ultimately, with Jermaine Burton choosing Alabama, this gives Alabama a weapon in that wide receiver room that has experience and has plenty of explosiveness. And when you pair him with what's currently in that receiver room, I think the Crimson Tide wide receivers are going to hit the ground running next year, and it's going to be something awesome to watch. Because when we look at this, Bama has had a 1,000-yard wide receiver every year since 2017. So when a wide receiver chooses Alabama to transfer to, it's not super surprising. Much the same when a wide receiver chooses Alabama out of high school, it's not super surprising. Aside from having a 1,000-yard wide receiver every year since 2017, the Crimson Tide have also put 7 wide receivers into the first round of the NFL draft, with Jamison Williams probably looking to go 8. What's even more incredible than that is that the Crimson Tide put 2 wide receivers into the first round of the same NFL draft, not once, but twice. And before Alabama had done it twice, there were only 4 teams to have ever, in the common draft era, put 2 wide receivers into the first round of the NFL draft. And if I miss any, by all means, please let me know down in the comments. I'm always down to learn, and I very well could have missed some. But from what I noticed, the only 4 teams to put 2 wide receivers into the first round of an NFL draft is Florida in 97, Miami in 01, Ohio State in 07, and LSU in 07. Aside from that, Alabama did it 2 years in a row. And if John Mechie doesn't get hurt in the SEC championship game, we could be talking about 3 years in a row. John Mechie being a guy who eclipsed 1,000 yards this season and who was just a hair away from 1,000 yards last season, painting a picture of consistency. Unfortunately, that injury arises, and we have to wonder how that will affect his draft stock. But Jamison Williams and his speed and his deep threat, he is going to be a first-round wide receiver, giving Alabama 8 first-round wide receivers under Nick Saban, which is incredible. That is an incredible stat to behold. So it is no surprise when a receiver chooses Alabama. And furthermore, when you look, Alabama returns the Heisman-winning quarterback who yielded the second highest QBR in the nation, isn't super prone to mistakes, and is only going to continue getting better. Bryce Young threw for 4,800 yards this season, and even though Stetson Bennett won the national championship, the Georgia Bulldogs had a great season winning the national championship. Stetson Bennett had 2,000 yards less passing than did Bryce Young. Now, in fairness, Georgia's offense doesn't pass at the same rate Alabama's offense does, but that kind of lends itself to why you're seeing a top-tier wide receiver get out of that offense, because it's not one that's conducive to wide receiver success in the same manner that Alabama's offense is conducive to wide receiver success. Bama had 2,000-yard receivers this year, and like I said, they've been just painting and putting out 1,000-yard wide receivers since 2017. So this isn't something new to the Crimson Tide. But what does this mean in the grand scheme of things? And first, I'll talk about what it means in the transfer portal. If we're talking about what this means in terms of the transfer portal, with the addition of Jermaine Burton, Alabama now finds themselves as a top 10 team in transfer portal acquisitions in this cycle. The crazy thing about that is when you look at it, there's been a lot of teams do great work in the portal. LSU has done a great job. USC's done a great job. OU's done a great job. Arkansas has done a great job, but they're taking a lot of numbers. Alabama is top 10 with only 3 guys they're taking from the portal: Eli Ricks, Jahmyr Gibbs, and now Jermaine Burton. That's only furthered when you look at 24/7 Sports, as they ranked the top 10 players in the portal, no matter whether they've committed or whether they're available. Alabama snagged a third of the top 10 players in the portal in those 3 names. But not only is Alabama now a top 10 team in the transfer portal rankings with only 3 guys, they yield the highest average rank of a portal team with a 96 average player rank through the transfer portal. Not only do they have the highest average rank in the transfer portal of players, but they can combine that with this current recruiting class that fields the highest average recruit rank in the nation. Even though Alabama may not have the number 1 class in the nation, they do field the highest average rated recruit. And what's crazy is it's actually higher than last year's class. Last year's class was head-spinningly talented. This year actually yields a higher average recruit. So Alabama's winning in the transfer portal. They're winning in recruiting. And when you look at everything they bring back, they're winning on the roster as well. I mean, goodness gracious, some guys have chose to go to the NFL, but for the most part, Alabama's team is going to be stout. When you look into that secondary, what Eli Ricks means in that secondary, with Helms coming back, with Battle coming back, that's going to be great. When you look at the running back room, with Jahmyr Gibbs, will give that running back room in terms of versatility. With some of the other running backs already present, that's going to be a tough group to stop. And now you look at the wide receiver core. We have to imagine that Ja'Cory Brooks is going to continue taking steps. Ajayi Hall is going to continue taking steps. You have JoJo Earl, Christian Leary out the slot, Tyu Jones-Bell, Trayshawn Holden, and now you put in Jermaine Burton. So with this, though, Alabama is really in a good position. That wide receiver room is going to be one that we have to watch. The last time Alabama got a wide receiver out the transfer portal, one could say it worked out pretty good, with Jamison Williams going over 1,500 yards. I think we could see Jermaine Burton eclipse 1,000 yards. The biggest thing we need to see out of Jermaine Burton is him be healthy all season long to be able to do that, because he certainly has the ability. Inserting Jermaine Burton gives the Crimson Tide a chess piece to continue moving around, and it also underscores the success Alabama has had at the wide receiver position. Success Jermaine Burton looks to continue. So, very interested in hearing from y'all. Hop down to the comments. Let me know what you're thinking here. That's it. See ya.